Hi! This week we are on lesson 28, and to start our week out I want to tell you a joke. Why did the princess sprinkle sugar on her pillow? Because she wanted to have sweet dreams. We are going to talk about a story this week that is a fairy tale that has been told for many, many years. And it kind of is the same kind of story as Cinderella, but it's called Yeh Shen. And I think you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to see a lot of similarities with Yeh Shen and Cinderella. And as you can see, Cinderella will be the short story that we also read this week. Okay, so let's start with our vocabulary words. They are task, glimmering, served, content, worn, overjoyed, concealed, and valuable. Number 1, task. My grandfather gave me a task to do. I helped him decorate for the party. A task is like a job. Number 2, glimmering. The diver saw something flash in the water. It was a group of glimmering fish. See the picture, how they're glimmering? Number 3, served. I think pizza tastes best when it is served fresh and hot right out of the oven. See how she's serving her, putting it on her plate? Content. The girls were content to play outside. It was fine with them not to watch TV. Content would mean they're okay with something. They're happy with something. They're okay. Are you content to be at home learning? Okay, number 5, worn. The teddy bear looks worn. It must be very old. That means it's been used a lot. Number 6, overjoyed. The children are overjoyed to see each other. They smiled and laughed. That's how it's going to be when we come back to school. Number 7, concealed. A smaller doll is concealed inside the larger doll. Concealed would be kind of like hidden. Number 8, valuable. The ring is valuable to my mother. She has had it for many years. Valuable means it's very important to someone. It's worth something to them. Okay, so let's go ahead to the story. While we're doing this, I want you to think about the vocabulary words that we read, and I also want you to ask the question to yourself, what can you learn from reading a fairy tale? Before we move on, I want to just go over our spelling words. The words are house, found, brown, ground, pound, flower, cow, loud, town, shout, down, and mouse. They all have the ow sound, and they're going to be, all of the spelling words will either have OU for the ow sound or OW. So keep that in mind when you're studying for your spelling this week. Okay, Yeh Shen is illustrated by Jill Dubin. Jill Dubin always loved art. Even as a child, she and her sister used to spend hours making dolls out of paper. Miss Dubin used paper to make the pictures for Yeh Shen. First, she sketched each picture. Next, she pieced a paper with different colors and patterns. She cut out pieces of the paper and placed them onto the sketches. The background and the characters' clothes are all different pieces of paper glued together. Wow, that must have taken a long time. This is written by Jen Sabella. Okay, let's get started. We're on page, what page is that? 458. Yeh Shen was a girl who grew up in China a long, long time ago. Her mother and father had died, so she lived with her mean stepmother, Jin, and her stepsister, Jun Li. They lived in a cave. Every time Jin looked at Yeh Shen, she became angry. Yeh Shen was gentler and kinder than Jin's own daughter, Jun Li. Yeh Shen was also a hard worker. Jun Li was spoiled and lazy. Jin gave Yeh Shen only rags to wear. She gave her long list of chores to do. When Yeh Shen finished one task, Jin added 3 more to the list. So how is Yeh Shen different than her stepsister Jun Li? Yeh Shen is a hard worker, and Jun Li is spoiled and pretty lazy. Yeh Shen was always busy working. She did not have a chance to make many friends, but she did have one very special friend. This friend had golden eyes, glimmering scales, and a big, beautiful tail. It was a fish that lived in the pond. Every day Yeh Shen stopped by the pond and shared some crumbs with the fish. Every day the fish popped up to greet its friend. Yeh Shen's stepmother saw this and became furious. She didn't want Yeh Shen to have any friends, not even a fish. One day, Jin caught the fish and cooked it for dinner. So who's Yeh Shen's favorite, best friend? It's a fish. Yeh Shen cried when she saw her friends served for dinner. She ran out of the cave and sat by the pond. "What's the matter?" an old man asked her. Yeh Shen told him about her friend, the fish. Then she told him what her stepmother had done. "Listen carefully to me," the old man said. "The bones of the fish hold special powers. Take the bones and bury them in 4 pots. Put 1 pot in each corner of your bed. Whenever you need help, tell the bones what you need. They will make your every wish come true." Yeh Shen followed the old man's directions. When she got back to the cave, she buried the bones in 4 pots. Then she put the pots by the corners of her bed. She did not have anything to ask for yet, but she felt content knowing that her friend was close by. A few weeks later, the spring festival arrived. At the festival, young men and women could meet. They hoped to fall in love and marry. How was she feeling at first? How did she feel when she found out her mother had cooked the fish? She was really sad and unhappy, right? But now that she's buried the bones of the fish, she feels much better with her friend close by. Jin didn't want to ruin Jun Li's chance of finding a husband, so she ordered Yeh Shen to stay home and clean. Then she and Jun Li went to the festival. Is she invited to go to the festival? No, her stepmom is jealous of her and doesn't let her go. Yeh Shen did not want to stay home and clean. For the first time since she buried the bones, she had a wish. "I wish I had beautiful clothes," she said to the bones. "I wish I could go to the festival. I wish I could be like all the other girls." As soon as Yeh Shen said the words, something amazing happened. She was covered in the finest clothes from head to toe. Her old worn shoes were replaced by a pair of slippers made from silk. Yeh Shen was overjoyed and grateful for the gifts from her friend. She ran off happily to the festival. Everyone at the festival stopped to stare at Yeh Shen when she walked in. Who was this beautiful girl in the magnificent clothes? Yeh Shen had a wonderful time at the festival, but she was worried that her stepmother would notice her. She decided to hurry home, but when she ran so fast that one of her silk slippers fell off, it lay in the middle of the road. It was the only sign that Yeh Shen had visited the festival. At home, Yeh Shen stuffed her new clothes into the pots. She concealed her one silk slipper. 2. She changed into her rags and waited for her stepmother to return. So what does Yeh Shen do right after she returns home from the festival? She hides her fine clothes, doesn't she? Why do you think that is? Because she's afraid she'll get punished if her stepmom finds out she went. Meanwhile, a traveler found the silk slipper on the road. He knew it was valuable, so he gave it to the king. The king was curious to find the owner of the slipper, so he had his men build a hut. Anyone could come to this hut to try on the silk slipper. Yeh Shen heard about the hut. She wanted her slipper back, so she sneaked out of the cave one night and ran quietly to the hut. As she crept toward the slippers, the king's men grabbed her. The king took one look at Yeh Shen's rags and thought she was a thief. Yeh Shen looked up at the king. Her eyes were filled with tears. The king saw how gentle and kind she was. He listened to her words. "Please, I will show you the other slipper," Yeh Shen whispered to the king. Yeh Shen led the king to her home. She put on the matching silk slipper and her fine clothes. The king knew then that he wanted to marry her. However, he was angry at how Jin and Jun Li had treated Yeh Shen. He told them never to come to his castle, so they stayed in their cave for the rest of their lives. Okay, so let's go back to this sequence of events. It says, what happened first, next, and last to Yeh Shen? What lesson can you learn from these events? I want you to ask yourself these questions and try to answer them to yourself. This is a very similar story to Cinderella. I hope you could see the similarities between the two. Maybe discuss that with someone in your family. Tell them the story of Yeh Shen and tell them how it compares to the story Cinderella.